Do you wear earplugs when you ride? If not, why is that? And if you do, what type do you use? I've been riding in custom moulded earplugs for quite a few years now, so I thought I'd take an opportunity to have a look at what I've been using and compare it to other alternatives. Hearing protection is a very important part of motorcycling, but I think it's something that's not talked about quite as much as it should be. So with this in mind, I wanted to share my experience of the ultimate ear products that I've been using over the last few years, but also frame that by looking at alternatives that are out there that might be suitable for you. As you probably know, Ultimate Ear are a channel sponsor, so I will get that out the front, but as usual for my videos, I will offer an honest and open opinion on the products that I'm talking about. Let's start with an acronym, NIHL, Noise-Induced Hearing Loss. Loud noise can damage the cochlea, and that in turn can produce tinnitus or complete hearing loss. Exposure to loud noise is actually the second biggest cause of hearing loss in the UK, and it's not always immediately apparent. It can take a few years from that initial exposure for the symptoms to start to show themselves. However, people can experience tinnitus, and that's the first sign that their hearing has been damaged, and that can come from a single very loud noise or exposure to loud sounds over a long period of time. And the louder the sound, the quicker the onset of that hearing damage. There is no cure for noise-induced hearing loss. At or below 70 decibels, even after a long exposure, are unlikely to cause any damage. However, sounds at 85 decibels or above can. To put that into context, a normal conversation will be at a level of 60 to 70 decibels. Watching a film at the cinema can be between 74 and 104 decibels. A motorcycle, 80 to 110 decibels. A concert of full volume headphones, 94 to 110 decibels. An emergency vehicle sirens, 110 to 129 decibels. And a fireworks show, 140 to 160 decibels. Motorcycles often don't exceed 90 decibels, which isn't too dangerous, especially on shorter rides. However, the real problem for motorcyclists is wind noise. At 65 miles an hour, wind noise can reach 100 decibels, which can cause hearing damage in as little as 15 minutes. At 100 miles an hour, wind noise can reach 110 decibels, which can cause tinnitus and permanent ear damage in just 2 minutes. I know some people who never wear earplugs, which personally I don't understand. The reason often cited is that they either don't find them comfortable, or they say that they block out too much noise and they can't hear any of the ambient sounds around them. And I'll tackle those points throughout the video. So where should you start? Well, the obvious place are disposable foam plugs. They're cheap to buy and are an effective solution, but there is some variance in the amount of noise cancelling that they offer depending on the density of the foam, so there is a certain amount of trial and error to that process. I've had some in the past that blocked out almost all the noise and made me feel really isolated on the bike. I didn't like that at all, and I didn't think that was particularly safe. I also don't find them particularly comfortable. Having had my ears checked by an audiologist, I discovered that I have narrow ear canals. This meant having to compress the foam plugs much more than I would do normally to get them into my ear canal, and I found that as they expanded back to their normal size, they would just work themselves loose, particularly in my left ear. This meant that usually after 10 to 15 minutes of riding, it would kind of work its way out and sit in this contra part of my ear, which was annoying and obviously completely ineffective. So the pros are that they are cheap to buy and they do a decent job of noise cancelling once you've established which ones work for you. The cons are that they are designed for single use, and in an ideal world you'll discard them at the end of each ride. I know in reality a lot of people don't do that, but it can cause problems. The foam plugs are porous, and that can lead to problems with ear infections if they are reused and you're introducing bacteria from the outside into your ear canals. Also, I guess you can't ignore the environmental impact of those discarded plugs. And of course, those plugs might not just be working for you, which is the case that I have. They are better than nothing. They can work very well. So if they work for you, it's a great solution. If not, what other choices do you have? The next step would be to use generic silicone plugs. They're a bit more expensive, but they can be cleaned and reused. Again, the fit is going to be the biggest variable, which means you might just have to try quite a few different brands until you find a set that work for you. They can, in my experience, also tend to be a little bit itchy. That just may be my own personal problem, but I did experience it with the ones that I tried. And I also found in reality that, again, I couldn't really get them to fit well. I felt like I had to push them a long way into my ear canal, which is not a great idea. And obviously I always worried that I'm going to get one stuck in there and struggle to get it out. So this is what led me to go down the route of custom moulded earplugs. As they are made from an impression of your ear, the fit is perfect, and because they fit both the ear canal and the concha, they are more secure and comfortable than standard plugs that just fit into the ear canal. They are made from a medical grade silicone, are easy to clean, and will last you years. It is recommended, however, though, that you do get your ears checked by an audiologist every 5 or 6 years, because there can be changes to the shape of your canal. But ultimate off that service, you can book in for a check, and if they feel there's no difference and you can continue to use your existing plugs, you'll do so. If there's a significant change where they think the performance of them will have been impacted, then you can obviously order a new set. But the plugs themselves don't really deteriorate or break down over that period of time. I did change my plugs recently because I had enough of a change that it meant I could get a better fit by having new ones moulded. But the old ones pretty much look like they did when I first got them. If you look after them and clean them regularly and store them properly, they will last you for at least 5 or 6 years, assuming that you don't need to change. If you don't need to change, you'll probably get even longer out of them. So for me, custom moulded plugs have been an absolute game changer, and I never ride without them. So what ones do I use? Well, I've got 3 pairs here which have been my regular go-tos over the last few years. One pair are an old pair which I don't tend to use anymore, but I'll show you what they're all about. So let's get straight into it. The Squidgy is Ultimate Ears' basic solution, if you like. It's a simple plug made out of medical grade silicone, and it offers 30 decibels of noise reduction. So in the examples I gave you before, if you look at a motorcycle at 65 miles an hour producing 100 decibels of sound through that helmet, these will reduce that down to 70 decibels, which is well within the safe limits. Going back to one of the points I made at the beginning, some people think that earplugs block out all noise and that you can't hear anything around you, and that's just simply not the case. Now, that may come from people that have tried maybe some of the very basic foam plugs quite some time ago, and some of those that are very high density do kind of have that effect. But as I say, for these it's not the case. You can wear these, you can still hear your bike, you can still hear other bikes and bikes around you and traffic around you and people shouting and beeps and horns and all that sort of stuff. You still hear that perfectly clearly. In fact, with these on and your helmet on, you can also still have a conversation with somebody at pretty normal levels. What they do is reduce, not block. So the Squidgies are simple to use, they're effective, they're comfortable, they're easy to clean and look after. Actually, these are an old pair that I had. These have now been changed since I had my moulds retaken, so I don't use these any longer. But they still look pretty much as good as they were when they were new, and if my ears hadn't have changed, then I could still certainly be using these. Okay, so on to the next set, which are a set of filtered plugs, and these are, I would say, my most used plugs. These are my go-tos. Similar to the Squidgies, same soft medical grade silicone, but they have a filter inside. There's a small channel that you can see in the piece that goes in your ear canal, and then there's a filter that fits inside, so that means that the guys can alter the amount of noise protection. And when you order these, you can either choose from having 23 decibels of noise protection or 29 decibels of noise protection. These can be a good choice if you've got a particularly quiet helmet and you don't want that extra level of noise protection, or indeed they're really good if you're using comms in your helmet, because by reducing the amount of noise protection means that it's easier to hear the music or the instructions or the chat from your pillion or other riders with these in place. It also means that you don't have to turn the comms unit up quite so loud as you would do with the squidgies, or certainly with foam earplugs. And obviously that defeats the object. There's no point in putting noise protection in to protect your ears and then cranking the volume of your comms up really loudly. Yeah, no point in doing that. So these are really good for those particular scenarios. So again, the filter plugs, really comfortable solution, easy to fit. They take a little bit more taking care of because obviously you have got a hole in this channel here, but they do come with a small tool, so if you get any sort of dead skin or wax or just a build-up of dirt in there, you've got a little tool that you can clean that out, give them a wash, and they're good to go. I highly recommend these. So the filtered plugs are good for general use and occasional comms unit, but if you want the best performance whilst using the comms and offering noise protection, then the Soundear Pros are definitely the way to go. These are slightly different construction to the squidgies in the filter plugs, in that they use two different densities of silicone. So the piece that goes into your ear canal here is exactly the same soft silicone. The piece that sits in the concha of your ear on the outside is slightly firmer, and obviously that because that has to house the speakers and they need that little bit more protection and a little bit more rigidity. In terms of comfort, they don't feel any different. This part that sits in your ear, you know, you don't really notice any difference in that at all, and obviously the bit that goes inside the ear canal is just as soft as the others. One other point to note is because of the denser material used in this part of the plug here, these have got a very slightly higher noise protection, and these as standard offer 31 decibels of protection. Now obviously these are fitted with speakers, but if I'm going to be precise, they are dual balanced armature drivers with a tuned vent woofer for improved bass and internal AccuPass acoustic crossovers. In short, these offer superb sound quality in conjunction with noise protection. Now these really do stand out when you're using comms because of those internal speakers. Once you've got them in, you've got that noise protection, but because you're getting a direct feed of the speaker through this, it means that you can turn the comms unit of your helmet down to its lowest level and you can still hear this really clearly. So if you're going to be on a bike all day long, if you're touring, if you're constantly talking with a pillion or listen to music or nav instructions for long periods of time, these are a better option than using the filtered plugs, because you still get all of that noise protection from the wind, but you can have the volume of your comms really, really low and still hear them all perfectly clearly. And actually the sound quality of these is very good. I have used these with other devices that accept a 3.5mm jack. So yeah, they come as standard with a 3.5mm jack connector. Now this means that if you're using a Cardo system, you can plug these straight in. Just unplug the headphones from the connector and plug these in, because pretty much all Cardo units, as far as I'm aware, use that 3.5mm connector, so that is really useful. It will also work with some Sena units, but not all. I've got a 50S, and that's got an external auxiliary headphone input on the mount itself, so I can plug that in. Now the benefit of that is I can have this plugged in and I can have the speakers in the helmet as well. On the Cardo you've got to choose one or the other, and in actual fact when I had the Cardo fitted to my Profile V helmet, I didn't fit the earphones in at all and left the port accessible, so I can plug this in, ride it with this when I wanted comms, and when I wasn't bothered about having comms I could just use my normal earplugs and I didn't have anything else in the helmet. So a really useful addition. If you've got a different solution, the guys at Ultimate Ear can provide these with the USB-C connector. So yes, obviously these are much more expensive, but in my book, if you're using them on a long-term basis, they're definitely worth the expense. So that's a run through of why you should be using ear protection in the first place and some of the options available to you. Now obviously I recommend using custom molded earplugs. They work really well for me, and I'm not saying that just because Ultimate Ear are a sponsor of mine. I was using them before any of that came about, and I was so impressed with the product. That's how this relationship came about. I like them because they're comfortable, they're easy to look after, they offer a reliable and consistent noise protection, and they've got longevity. I can honestly say that I am wearing a set of these every time I ride, and actually now if I put a helmet on and I haven't got them in, it feels kind of weird. That's how used I've got to using them. Obviously, if you're using foam plugs or the generic silicone ones and they work for you, that's great. You're getting the protection you need. I'm not trying to convert anybody across. I'm just making the point that these could work and could obviously be a better solution for some people out there. But if you're on the fence about going down this route, the guys at Ultimate Ear have got a little sweetener for you. If you place an order and spend more than £100, you can use the code MANCAVE15 and that will give you a 15% discount on your order. If you're going to be spending £250 or more, then you can use the code MANCAVE50 and that will knock £50 off of your order. Not bad. If you're a regular viewer, you will know that I have had discount codes for Ultimate Ear in the past, but more recently they've been somewhat abused. They've been appearing on chat rooms and internet forums and are being shared around, and that means that the resulting discount is going to people that haven't seen this channel and are just taking advantage of that discount. So as from the point of this video going out, any previous codes will be cancelled, and it's only the two that I have given here that will continue to work. And we are looking at a different way of doing this so that I can offer these discounts and initiatives to you, my viewers, and it works well for Ultimate Hearing. So that may change over time, but if it does, I'll certainly make another quick video to let you know exactly how that works. So I hope you found this useful. If it has raised any questions, then let me know in the comment section down below. And all that leaves me to say is, until next time, thanks for watching, take care, ride safe, protect your hearing, and I'll see you soon. Bye.